Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the second floor. Today, I am extremely excited to bring to you guys two guests. One that you're very familiar with. We have a co-host today who's going to be asking great questions. We have KB Buller. He's back today. We also have our special guest that we will be interviewing and having great chats with today. He happens to be my favorite professor from university, Charles Keim. Charles Keim is one of the professors at Macewan University who is the managing and consulting major professor. So Charles has actually taught 3 to 4 classes for me, everything from organizational behavior to managing systems and everything else in between.
Leadership?
So, leadership as well. Yeah. So I'm extremely excited to bring Charles on board today. And today we're going to discuss how to thrive and how to survive in business and life. Let's do it, Charles.
Whoa, okay.
Welcome, my friend.
Yeah. Well, if you're talking about, now you're going a different direction because this is different from what we were talking about just before. The biggest thing that the listeners can take away from this, the biggest finding, if you remember one thing, this is what to remember. There is almost no correlation between job performance and advancement.
Okay.
In other words, it doesn't matter how good you are at your job.
Yeah.
That's not going to make a difference in terms of advancement.
Really?
Now, there is a correlation between doing a really crappy job
Yep.
and not being promoted or even being dismissed. But there is almost no correlation between being good at your job and being promoted.
Wow.
Yeah.
Everybody do just slightly shittier of a job.
What? No.
Just don't do
Stop
it to the
trying so
110% of your ability.
What that means is like, so then how do you get promoted? If it's not what you're doing, well, who do you need to know? Who are the people in the organization that you need to be close to?
Connections are so key.
Who are the people that have power in the organization? How do you get close to them? How do you have them like you?
Yeah.
What are the connections outside your school or your industry that you can make that will benefit you and also benefit your organization?
Do you think that has to do a lot with like being seen?
Yes.
Like, do you know, it's like the difference between the one guy who sticks around in the office, stays an hour every day, but let's say he does that on the 2 weeks the boss is away.
Yeah.
But then you got the other guy who knows when the boss is around.
Absolutely.
And then does it one time.
Absolutely.
Gets a notice and the boss goes, "Oh, you're sticking around for an extra hour or two?"
I know.
That's incredible.
You know, being visible and being loud is huge. That's why you've got a natural advantage.
Yeah.
Because you're a loud person. Loud people win. And you know, last week in class, we did this activity with I love activities in class. You got to be doing stuff, right? Then that's where learning happens. So this group you have 4 people and there's a string attached to all 4 of them. And then the string where they cross and intersect in the middle, there is a pencil hanging down. And you have to lower this pencil into a pop bottle, into a little water bottle with a skinny neck, right? So then everybody has their back to each other. So there is a person who is saying, okay, Kenny, take 1 step back. KB, half a step back. So that he's moving everybody to drop this little pencil in. So we did this for 15 minutes. How many times do you think we got the pencil in?
Oh, I'm thinking 0 times.
Once.
That's
we got lucky. We did it twice.
Yeah.
Another group did it 3 times.
Oh, wow.
One group did it once. One group did it 17 times.
Whoa, what?
So what they figured out is that if you have 2 people steady, then the other 2 people, they put a hole in the bottom of the water bottle and they ran a string through the bottom of the water bottle and tied it to the pencil.
That's creative.
So then one person would just go backwards, the other person goes forward, and they pull the pencil into the bottle. Then they say, okay, back up. They pull it back out. Then they walk forward. So they're just pulling the pencil in like this because the string goes through the bottle.
They created a circle.
Yeah, it's brilliant, right?
Did you ever think of it?
No, of course
like
not.
That?
Of course not.
I
was too busy talking and shaking hands and the old students.
I think that was a neat thing that you did with your teaching style, hey? Because KB and I, we both were fortunate enough to actually be in your class at the same time, and it was a lot of moving.
Yes.
It wasn't like the traditional, here's your PowerPoint, guys, whip out your notebook, I'm going to start teaching you, start writing definitions. No. It was like, okay, let's segment you guys
Yeah.
in the group in which you guys belong.
Yeah.
Or let's put you
Yeah.
guys in with
Yeah,
other
yeah,
types
yeah.
of people.
Yeah,
and let's
totally.
see how that gets mixed up.
So after this activity, then the people that are doing it said, "Wow, 17 times. That's like 5 times, 6 times more than these other people." Like, so who came up with this idea? Oh yeah, I don't know. I don't know where the idea came from.
They weren't too sure.
So they weren't too sure, and one person says, "Well, I think it was just our team. Like it just sort of, our team came up." It was absolute bullshit, by the way, because there was a quiet girl, who came up with the idea.
Yeah.
So then,
An introvert.
yeah. So when they said, "Okay, who came up with the idea?" she didn't say anything, which means she didn't get any credit.
Wow.
No credit.
Yeah.
So there was like the top performer in that group who didn't get any promotion, any bonus, any recognition
Wow,
because
what a
she didn't
good
say.
point. Yeah.
She didn't say,
Wow.
just so you understand, I'm the person that came up with this idea. I thought,
And how
You
crazy
know?
was it that everybody else wasn't even willing to say, "Oh
Yeah.
well,
Yeah,
let's say her
yeah,
name's
yeah.
Jennifer.
Yeah.
Jennifer did
Yeah.
it. They didn't point
Yeah.
it out.
Yeah,
They were
yeah.
all like, "Well, we kind of did it as a team."
Yeah, everybody
They
just-
already forgot
yeah.
the fact that she was.
they
the one
already
that planted
forgot.
That seed, hey?
If you don't self-promote, no one else is going to promote you.
Yeah, it's so.
And the other thing like that people don't realize is, man, you can, if you go to who's the person you need to know to take your career to the next step, or to get yourself into a certain industry. Who do you need to know? You go to that person and you say, "You're amazing, you're wonderful, I idolize you, and I'd like to bring you into our class to talk about, career management, to talk about how you got there, what are the emerging trends in the industry, whatever," right?
Yeah.
And you bring them into your class, but first you need to talk to them, to get a little bit of a backstory so you can introduce them.
This is somebody you want to invite.
Yeah,
into the
somebody that
class
you
and
want to
speak.
invite. So then
Yeah.
now you have a connection with that person.
Yes. I
You
like
know?
how we do it. We're doing that more, right? Like McEwen is
Hopefully.
doing a good
Hopefully.
job of creating a
Yeah.
lot more of those events. It's just a matter of, like you said, the student themselves to actually be like, I need to go and
Yeah.
network.
Yeah,
I need to connect.
yeah,
with these people. I
yeah.
put myself out there.
Yeah, that's right. And how do I get whoever the person is, who is the star at KPMG, who are the people that are doing the hiring? How do I get those people? How do I get to meet them? How do I bring them into? Well, I go and say, well, so talk to me about your hiring or your onboarding of new grads. How do you do? We'd like you to come talk to our class. We, as in me, but you say that and then you tell your prof, "Hey, I want to bring this person. I got someone from KPMG."
Exactly.
Well, it's fantastic. Now you've got visibility and recognition.
Definitely.
That's the it's those kind of things.
Yeah.
Making sure that if you work late, the boss knows you're working late. Everybody knows you're working
Yeah.
late. If you work late and
Yeah. Then it just kind of seems like, oh, it was in your job description. And
Yeah.
you do so.
Yeah.
Kind of
Yeah.
thing, right?
Yeah.
Like people want pat on the back for work that was already something that you just had to do anyways.
Yes.
It's really
yeah,
neat. Like
and
the
you
whole
need
recognition
and you
aspect
need
of
to
it,
do the
right?
work that they recognize or that they feel is valuable. Like
Yeah.
it's for some organizations, it's not actually the work. It's like we prefer, we reward people who are on committees.
Yeah.
We reward people who've organized the Christmas snacks.
Yeah.
And then
The extra
you're
stuff,
yeah,
right?
yeah, and then you're making a presentation on the Christmas program this year in
It's
front of
neat,
everybody.
though. It's crazy because what's
Yeah.
funny now. I recently have been onboarded with TELUS, and I'm already hearing that they have. It's my first week, and they
Yeah.
do awards that are strictly given for those who in the TELUS integrity,
I love it.
the characteristics, employee outside of the workplace. Like it's for the people in the workplace. Like it's for the people who are
Wow.
doing the above and the beyond outside of their job description. It's getting
Yeah.
noticed.
Yes.
That's a big thing.
Yes.
Is they're drawing it to
Yeah.
the intention of their community
Yeah.
and to those around them.
Yeah.
Right? And I kind of want to ask you because I was curious. Percentage-wise, how many people, Charles, do you think, let's say they're fourth-year university students?
Yeah.
Percentage-wise, how many do you think you could look at and go, you know what? You're ready to step into the real world. You're going to make a smooth transition.
Well, depends what you mean by a smooth transition. One of the stats. Now I don't know how this shakes down at McEwen or the U of A, but Jeffrey Pfeffer, that teaches at Stanford, says among Stanford graduates, Stanford, arguably the number one business school in the world, Stanford. He says that among recent graduates, 15 to 20% of students will experience a career interruption. which is to say they'll get fired in their first 2 years.
Wow.
Now, I don't know what the stats are at McEwen, but when you enter an organization, are you able to figure out what this organization values, what they want? Like, what do they want from me? Well, they just want me to work hard. Probably not, actually. I mean, yes, they want you to do your work, of course, but what are the things that they really want? What are the things they value? Can you figure that out? My big concern with students is it's like, are you able to work around the job?
Yes.
Are you able to go up and talk to people you don't know? Are you able to get visible? Are you able to make connections? Or are you just like, I am really good at reading PowerPoints and answering multiple choice questions, or telling you, telling you what you need to know. And what's the what's the criteria here? I need the rubric. And it's like, well, there is no rubric. I don't know what how would I know what the rubric is?
They have to get out of that mentality.
Yes.
You just master this sense of, like, the way the academic structure, I feel like, is that in commerce is like it emphasizes almost facelessness. Like, you do exactly that. You read PowerPoints, you answer multiple choice questions, but then that shock of when you get out into the real world.
Yeah.
Is like, even in your classroom, like, I think there's some people that have that initial shock of just how interactive the classroom environment is, and it's like takes them by surprise.
That's so true. What would the ultimate intention be for what you want people to get out of your teaching style? Especially it being so robust and so unique in the sense that it's different.
Yeah. A couple things I would say that I would like is, first of all, helping people to figure out, what are you passionate about? What do you like to do? Like when you guys were in my class and you did the MMA demonstration, you guys, you could feel the energy in the room. Yeah. You guys were passionate about that. Yeah. You put in way more work on that project than you would have on, something with a rubric looking at, some quote business topic, right? If it's something, so helping students to figure out, what is your passion? Like, what do I want to do? Because it's sad. Like, some people will say, oh, so what's your major? Oh, I'm in accounting. Why are you there? Oh, I don't know. Seems like the job. It seems like
everyone's doing it.
Yeah, and it seems like the job. It seems like the major I'm most likely to get a job with. Mm-hmm. So that's why I'm going to do.
That's the common
So where do you want to
answer.
work? Well, I want to work. I guess I want to work at one of the big four, because that's where everybody's applying to those big four. So So I guess I should go there. So and then they work through school, it's kind of have their head down working, and then they go to work, and it's like, well, man, here I am. And I remember one student came back, and Will, and he says to me, he goes, I can't believe I worked so hard for this job. He's like, I'm here in a cubicle, and this is like, oh my gosh, I worked
dreadful. It's dreadful.
But then, I'm not happy, so what do? Well, buy a new car. Get some things, but now I got a debt. Now I got to pay for those things. Then you get married, you have kids, and pretty soon it's like, you're 50 and you've lived someone else's dream.
Yeah.
You've never really felt like you've been alive, where it's like, man, I can't wait to get to work. I can't wait to go and do this,
It felt like some race, like a never-ending mouse wheel.
Yeah.
Right? And it was like, let's go to the next thing, let's go to the next thing, the next thing, and you never had a chance to just stop.
Yeah, and say, do I even want to be on this wheel? Yeah. Or is this someone else's wheel that I'm running?
Yeah. That's why it's neat, because then when you look at someone like KB, he spoke about it when he came on as a guest, and he just recently went, no, I'm not going to just abide to this whole corporate structure and go this route where it's not what I ultimately want to do.
That's one of the things I wonder, hey, like people say, oh, this new generation, whatever it's Gen Z or whatever it is, right? A bunch of slackers, they don't care. Mm-hmm. They're not motivated. They don't work hard. They're entitled. But I wonder if part of it is like, they look at the world and they're like, you can keep your money. I don't want it. Yeah. Like you're looking at these quote giants of industry, many of whom are now in jail or who have been shown to be unethical or just screwing people out of money.
Yeah.
And they look at it and they're like, but I don't, my goal in life is not just to have more money than everybody else. I want to do something meaningful.
Yeah.
And then the older generation, it's like, well, what do you mean meaningful? Like,
they get confused.
Yeah. Like if I said to my parents, It's about being passionate, and loving your job. They'd be like, what are you talking about? Like, it's work, you idiot.
Yeah.
You go to work. Like, stop screwing around and you work.
I personally think
Right?
you gotta have a fine balance, though.
Yeah.
Because you're gonna reach a point one day where you might have a family of your own. You have to provide.
Yeah.
You have to be
Yeah.
able
Yeah.
to just provide
Yeah.
for yourself.
Yeah.
Right? But you can find jobs out there now where you can enjoy it.
Yes.
You're putting in your
Yeah.
own personality.
Yeah.
You should find
You
value
get
in
paid
your
for
work.
it.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. And even if people come into my class and they're like, this is the worst class ever. It's unstructured.
Yeah,
There's
everyone
the
said
rubric
don't like
is
it.
all over the place. There's no PowerPoints for crying out loud.
Yeah.
We're watching videos or playing games like what the heck.
Yeah.
That's okay because then they know I don't want to be in an organization like that.
Yeah.
Like if every class is cookie cutter. Here's the learning objectives, here's the rubric, here's the PowerPoints, here's the exams, and you never get a chance to be in an organization that's different.
Yeah.
You don't really know like what organizations you should avoid and which organizations you should embrace.
So you take that as an opportunity to be like a learning lesson for someone.
Yeah.
Take this, and fly with it.
Yes.
You know that this is the type of environment you don't want to go into.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
You know what's crazy about that? I think when people go and interview into certain places, I think there should be a fair testament to making that person be in the environment.
Yeah.
Right? Because you know what's crazy is right now the biggest problem out there for corporate structured jobs, whether they're big four or small agencies, is retention. A lot of them go, how are we going to keep these people? These young people, they keep coming in and out. They do a year, they bounce.
Yeah.
But you know what? Do a little bit of testing.
Yeah.
Allow them to come in and be like, hey, you know what? Try this for a week. Or be in our office for a week. Let's see how you do.
Yeah.
And give us honest feedback and let us know if this is the environment you want to be into.
Yeah.
Be honest.
That's tough.
Right?
Because, you think about it, the boss says to you, so what do you think about that decision I made? I think it was brilliant. Right? We know that flattery works.
Yeah.
Flattery is, researchers looked at what point does flattery stop working?
Yeah.
We don't know. They couldn't find the point where flattery ceases to work. We all have this conception that if I say, KB, you're the greatest guy ever, because he is, right? But, and then at some point if I'm like, hey, KB, you're awesome. Could you give me a ride home? Okay, well, it's not going to work and he's going to be upset.
Yeah.
The research shows no, he'll be like, you're just saying that. Yeah, I am. Thank you.
Yeah.
We're still, flattery always works.
It works.
And if you want to get ahead in an organization, you flatter the boss. Of course, if the boss is interested, you should be fascinated by it.
That's interesting. And then when you look at that from, let's say, the campus perspective, do you feel like flattery happens as a professor or even from a student trying to flatter you, only in terms of like, I want to get on the professor's good side? Or maybe there's an automatic, because as human beings, I feel like we can't help it. We can't help but have a little sense of favoritism.
Yes, absolutely.
Whether it's very strongly voiced out or not.
Absolutely. We know that hiring committees will make up their mind in 4 seconds. About 4 to 7 seconds, hiring committees decide if they're going to hire someone or not.
Yeah.
And if you think about, so what happens in the first 4 seconds? Well, a person walks in. So first of all, we see the person, their physical, are they skinny? Did they take up more room? Are they tall? Are they short? Do they
physical sense?
and do they look like me? We like people who look like us. And if I tell you, my best friend growing up was Kenny. Suddenly you are more positively disposed towards me.
Yeah.
And then, so you think about it. So the person walks in, we see what they're wearing. What color are they wearing?
Of course.
If there's some red, some power, or is it more blue, clean?
Yeah.
What are they dressed similar to us? Do they know what the norms are of this industry? If it's accounting and everybody's wearing suits and Buddy walks in sweatpants.
Yeah. Sweatpants, tap out.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Already then we know, okay, he has no idea how to dress. Like, he doesn't know anything about this industry. That person's out.
Yeah.
And then it's a handshake. And, it's interesting, the handshake. In our culture, the handshake, we want firm, but one shake. Asians are just like, they keep shaking. They keep pumping the hand. You know,
while you're laughing and talking.
It's like, yeah, thank you. And you know, and then the girls are just, you know, they're at the very end.
You know
and
what's
it's like,
interesting?
what are you guys
Do you
doing
know
out
why
there?
they do that?
I have no idea.
Here's something I heard. I can't recall.
I was
where
told
heard
if
it
you
from.
want to shake her hand and you want to go in all the way, I was told you got to buy dinner first.
And here I am all confused, right? I'm all confused. Yeah, when you get closer, right? I'm all confused because someone lately told me that when you're shaking a woman's hand, you go like this, right?
Yeah.
Only because if it's a woman who's wearing a ring on her finger and she's married, if you go like this, you're going to be crushing her fingers.
Okay.
So you go like this and you go lightly. And then ever since I heard that, I'm confused because there's still women I'll shake my hands with. And they're going like this.
Yeah.
And now I look like the sissy. And now I'm going like this. And they're probably thinking like, what is
But
this
it
guy
might be
doing?
that they think that, oh, in Canada everybody's the big handshaker, so that's what I've got to do.
Yeah.
But just trying to teach them to make one shake is so hard. They're like, they keep going. You know, it's
like you can let go now.
And so you identify very quickly, you know, is this person, and we also associate the handshake with general health. If someone has a weak hand grip, we assume that they're weak.
Wow.
They're not healthy. And
Indians legit shake hands like this. Green hand.
wow.
Yeah, very lightly.
It's like,
Oh.
ew!
Yeah.
This weird
Yeah.
flaccid handshake.
Yeah.
It's very slimy.
Terrible.
Especially
Flaccid
have clammy
handshake.
hands and it's
Yeah.
just like you're slipping away.
Yeah, I know. That's right. That's, you know, what first happens in an interview. Someone says, hello, good morning. They walk in, they shake hands, and then they sit down. And, you know, if they're smart, the first thing they'll do is they will copy the body language of the person across the table from them.
Yeah.
Because we are positively disposed to people who are like us. And so if they adopt a similar body style, we'll be
Do the same thing.
Yeah. We'll associate that this is someone like us.
Yeah. I find that very neat, especially even with eye contact, right? I've been working on more so having eye contact with people, but then there's I can't help it now, is I count or I take note of how many times I looked away. And I can't help but think, okay, how many times they're looking away? I need to adjust to that as well and not do the same thing.
Right. Yeah.
Because some people, they just find
It's
some sort of uncomfortable
It's
feeling
odd
of
though.
someone just staring at them in the eyes, or them looking at someone in the eye and saying.
And you know, the other
on
thing
their
that's
mind,
interesting about that is I think it must be so hard for immigrants in Canada because Canadians don't say anything. Like if someone, have you ever told someone, dude, you're standing too close to me when you talk to me?
Never said it.
No, I've never said it. I've had people stand too close
I just let it
and I just avoid them because it's awkward, right? And I know that they're thinking, why is this person always avoiding me? And it's like, because you stand too close to me.
Yeah.
But I don't say anything to them.
That was me last
Right?
week at that networking thing that you sent me for Lasershare.
Yes.
Dude, I didn't tell you the story. This guy, as I was getting ready to go train, and this dude in like a Bass Pro Fish hat.
Nice.
He's got a
He's got
a
That
big
guy.
brown beard. He's got one blind eye, and then he's got one good eye, and he's got some hearing
And
aids.
hopefully
he's
the
been
rifle,
hunting.
hopefully the rifle is up to the good eye.
He's legit looks terrifying. He comes up to the desk, and I'm at I'm there for my parents' company, Lasershare, and he comes up to the desk and he puts his hands down like this. He's like, "What you selling?"
Whoa.
And I'm like,
You got it in your face.
I'm like, "Oh, sir, we're selling. We're not selling anything, but we're here for this. We're here for an advanced skin rejuvenation clinic." And I'm like trying to think.
Nice.
I'm trying to think of all the nuances of what my parents' company is.
Yeah.
And then he's like, "Well, I just thought I'd tell you." And he gets real close like this, and he's like, "You got some nice skin." And I'm like, "God, I don't want you to wear it, but
Yeah.
okay."
Wow.
Yeah.
And then
And you're thinking, don't look in the bad eye. Don't look in the bad eye.
You're like, oh, look at
And meanwhile, you can't help but look in the bad eye.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
so scary, dude. So
Yeah.
scary. This went on for like 5 minutes. He started talking about Kundalini yoga.
Yeah.
And then.
But here's the funny part, right? Is you doing that? You not once went to him and said, "Can you just not stand?"
I didn't.
Yeah.
I didn't. I let him
I know.
Just,
I know.
Just let it
We
happen.
don't, and it's interesting then because people don't figure out what the norms of our culture are.
It's tricky.
Because we don't say anything.
We all come from
and we
different
don't.
places.
Yeah. We
That's
don't
the
say
craziest
you're
part.
squeezing my hand too tight.
Yeah.
Your hand, you're not being tight enough with the hand.
Yeah.
You're standing too close. We don't say anything. And then we're offended, of course.
Yeah.
You know, and then when we, you know, someone's offended us, they're like, "Is everything okay?" Yeah, everything's fine.
Yeah.
Because you seem a little like you don't, you know, there seems like there's something. No, it's
That's
all
what
good.
Facebook's for.
It's all
a-
good.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I know exactly.
Yeah, and then you go after them. That's right.
Kenny Buller is.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
just start
Well, you
going at
know,
it.
when Buddy, remember that one of my greatest experiences, one of those defining moments, I'm in the men's washroom, which is there's always like something interesting happening. You know, from the guy who uses it as his personal office.
Yeah.
He's got the papers spread out, the cup of coffee, and he's like, you know.
In the men's bathroom?
In the men's bathroom.
At
There's-
McEwen?
Yeah, McEwen. There's a
Yeah.
guy that uses the stall, it's his office. So it's like home away from home, right? Well, he's got, you
Working
know,
remotely.
he's got connection, he's got wireless, he's, you know, comfortable.
Yeah,
He's got
clearly.
space. So he's good for like, or battery, whatever his battery is, right?
Yeah.
So I'm in there and then a guy comes in with a coffee and a donut. And I'm like, okay, like what's going to happen? Because there's no shelves. Right? Like what's so
where is he gonna
so
put
I'm
it?
thinking like, you know, I got to like how is this going to shake down, right?
Yeah.
So I'm, you know, pretend to just do the hand wash thing. I'm just over here washing and I'm like, what is this guy going to do? He comes in, looks around, takes a cup of coffee, puts it on top of the urinal, takes the donut and puts it, you know, there's that little photo cell. So when you walk away, it automatically automatically flushes.
Yeah.
Plunks the little donut up there.
Oh.
Doing his business. The donut here and the coffee here and the coffee
Oh,
here.
the blank donut? It
Yeah.
wasn't even in a bag or anything?
No. It's got little sprinkles on
Oh,
top.
that
Blank
dirty
donut.
bastard.
No, nothing. No napkin bag.
Of
It's
all places.
right there. And I'm like, wow. Buddy beside him is I can see Buddy beside him is like, whoa. The dude who's doing this is now looking around like, check this out. I figured out where to put the donut. Look at this. I just made this into a donut holder, man. Look at me. Finishes up, grabs the coffee, grabs the donut, doesn't bother washing. Out the door.
man.
Out the door.
Nice.
Hey?
That's
But nobody in the washroom said like, dude, you are
one said
buying.
anything.
No,
I
everybody.
would just stay quiet.
Everybody
about
is like just, you know, they're
Everybody's
washing their
thinking about
hands.
it.
They're, you know, just like taking paper. Thunka, 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 thunka. And everybody is like, is this possible? What
But
I'm
no
seeing?
one talked
No
about
one
it,
said
right?
anything.
Everyone kept it to themselves. This
Yeah.
is such a clear
Yeah.
example of our society today.
Yeah. Nobody said anything. But everybody is like, I can't believe this is happening. Like,
Well,
this is,
crazy.
you know.
In my head, I'm like, if that guy's gonna use that thing as a donut holder, imagine what he'll do to me if I say something to him.
Oh, dude.
This guy
Imagine
is-
like
Yeah, I guess.
Maybe this,
I was
Like,
just
what's
a,
I think we're afraid of abnormality, don't you think? Like we're like
we don't know what,
Like,
I don't know what
how-
to do with that.
Yeah, like I get it. Oh, you know what? There's some people have the mentality of 5-second rule, but like you put it right
Yeah.
where people flush.
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
You put their
right
finger on
there.
to flush
Yeah,
the damn
yeah,
toilet.
yeah.
Like
You're
do
like
you
12
wanna
inches.
die?
You're like 12 inches above the business.
Oh.
You know, just saying.
I got
Just saying.
splashes.
Yeah, and then the coffee is even right there, right on top.
Jeez.
Yeah.
That's
But it's interesting that nobody says anything.
But that's a crazy part where now you ask just a question to your students, right? And it's just an open-ended question. Like, hey guys, tell me, what do you guys think about what's happening with the transition of robotics from
Yeah.
humans?
Yeah.
Tell me about it. What
Yeah.
are your thoughts? Like
Yeah.
a question like that. Where there's
Yeah.
no wrong answer.
Yeah.
And then you just hear silence.
Yeah.
And you're just waiting. Do you still get that a lot, or are students
Yeah,
starting to
so-
become more opinionated in terms of addressing it? Or they
Some are. There's always those people who have an opinion. They've you know, it's the first time they've ever encountered this concept. Let's say motivation.
Yeah.
And they've never heard of motivation. They've never heard of what we teach about
Never
motivation.
dissected it.
Which is that motivation is an internal state.
Yeah.
You know, you can't, I can threaten you and I can bribe you, but that's not motivation. Right? That's, you know, motivation's got to be, you know, it's internal. It's what you want to do, right?
Yeah.
And they'll hear it for the first time, but they'll disagree with you. And so there are those people who are like, okay, I've never heard of this topic before, but I have an opinion and it's different than yours, and I disagree with you. Even though you have a PhD in that topic, I'll still disagree with you. There are those people.
They're all okay.
But then there's, others that won't. It's the thing that what I always think of the classroom as the hill and the plain.
Yeah.
And if you ask students questions, like if you ask them a question in class, that's the hill. It's hard for them to, because they don't really know much about, they're thinking about what's my response. What do I think about this? And also, how do I avoid looking like an idiot?
You do have to give them some time.
Yeah.
You respect the fact, like, okay, you guys think about this.
Yeah.
It's not like you have to have a response right away.
Yeah.
Right?
And so, what I try and do is say, okay, so take a minute, turn to the people beside you and talk. Yeah. So that they have a chance to rehearse, and
figure
think,
it out, brainstorm a little.
Figure it out, and
like
then if I'm walking, in there, I can say, oh, little Jimmy here. Jimmy had a good. So then when I go to the front of the class, I'm like, all right, let's. What are some of the ideas or thoughts around this? Jimmy, you said something interesting. Yeah. Oh, I did. Yeah. And that's.
Then they felt good.
Yeah. And you always, praise in public and criticize in private. Always. You can't criticizing. If you criticize your class, everybody shuts up, and then it's over.
You lose the trust.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, and then people are, even if they have something good to say, they're not sure that it's good. So they're just like, oh, I better not say anything or I'll get, taken off at the knees,
exactly. Right? And then they feel like everyone's gonna assume that they're the one in the class
Yeah.
that doesn't have the strongest
Yeah.
opinion. They feel like they personally got shafted.
Yeah, that's right. One of the interesting statistics about university students is that most of them don't make any friends in university.
What?
Well, that's right. What? No, it's true. It's true. Most of them don't make any friends. Well, if you think about the average class, you come in, it's an interesting thing. You come in and you sit down on the first day, and there's someone beside you, you don't know who that is. And you're just like...
Say hi.
Some do.
Some don't.
Some don't. They're just sitting there, and they'll sit beside that person for the rest of the semester. But, they come in, they sit down, they open their book, they get their laptop, and they just take notes, and they never really get an opportunity, to talk to that person, right? Exactly. And I'm of the opinion, no, we gotta foster friendships, man. There's really cool people in your class that you gotta get to know.
Everyone has a different story.
Yeah. And they know someone who knows someone that has the perfect job for you.
That's what it is.
And you can
back to that,
increase barriers to entry for socialization.
Yeah.
You have one screen in front of your face, and you got a screen in your pocket.
Yes.
Yes. Even the professor lecturing is essentially a barrier too.
Yes.
And then
it's a lot of
and if you don't make the effort, it doesn't happen. I'll tell guys look, man, look at that beautiful girl. She's gorgeous. This is an amazing opportunity for you to go up and say hi.
Yeah. You never know.
Yeah, you never know, right? You ask, you'd be surprised. You will never get anything if you don't ask.
I think it's a good combination of when you look at a situation like that and everything else we talked about is the increase in the feeling of rejection, right? Is I'd rather not try because I either don't want to get rejected or that's not on my agenda. Yeah. It is.
There's an interesting finding on that, which is that people will actually not put effort in so that when they fail, they will still feel good about themselves. So imagine that there's, a big meet coming up, or there's a test or something. So if there's a big meet coming up, and KB doesn't train, and then he goes in and he loses, and he says, "Yeah, I lost the match, but you know what? I didn't train. If I had trained, I would have won." So you were able to hold on to that the idea that if I had trained, I would have won.
That's true. So that whole I gave it my all.
Yeah. No. Instead of I gave it my all and it felt.
It was bound to happen because I half-assed it.
I gave my all and I lost is really hard for us to accept, and so it's well, I only gave it half and so it failed. But if I had given it full, I know I would have made it because I'm a great person and I know that I have the strength. Instead of saying no, you know what, it takes a lot more confidence to say I'm gonna give it 100% and So we'll actually handicap ourselves often.
It's twisted.
Yeah, it
Or
is
it's
twisted.
Some sort of excuse.
Yeah.
In a sense, right?
Yeah.
It could be that
yes.
side too.
That's another way of saying it, I think. Yeah.
I know I'm having a very pessimistic view of all this, but I mean, if we were to even look at it in the bright side, what do you think there? Like, if we were to go optimistically here, what are some good things you're seeing right now? Like, what are some things you're proud of in seeing in students, and how things are shaping up in terms of what kids are doing now?
One thing I love about is that people are very idealistic, and they want to actually make the world a better place.
Yeah.
Like, especially I find among I find especially among young, the students, the young people, that they want to make a difference in the world. They're really, they actually think, well, how can we help people that are homeless? How can we make a difference for those people that don't have enough? How can we change? What can we change? What changes can we make to help the environment? How can we help people from other countries? Yeah. How can we?
They're thinking in the grand scheme.
Yeah,
Of things, right?
and they want to make things better.
Yeah.
That's really different than like kind of the old school executives that are, look, it's profit maximization. Okay, but you're like screwing these people. Yeah, no. It's profit maximize. We're profit maximizers. That's above. If we make more money, Amazon, and I can't remember, I think this was in 2010, 2012. They had ambulances lined up outside their factory. I can't remember where it was in the South. It was South Carolina or wherever. Because it was cheaper to take people to the hospital to rehydrate them than it was to install air conditioning.
Oh, jeez.
Seriously. And
I heard weird stories.
Yeah. And
overworking their employees,
man. And the other thing is that, but once you've got lots of money like Jeff Bezos, you're man of the year. And people don't say, but how did you get that money? And what is the consequences of that money? And shouldn't you share that money? Whereas I feel like, maybe it's my own naivete, but it seems to me that younger people now look at that and they're like, that's not cool, man. Like, we want to make things better, not worse.
Exactly.
And I think too, maybe a realization that, man, the older generation, they're kind of like hogging everything, like there's not, it's an interesting thing because, with technology and robotics, if self-driving vehicles, okay, but what about self-driving trucks for transport? That's 3 million jobs in the States that evaporate if we go to self-driving trucks.
It's going to change things. Right?
And robots don't have to stop and go pee, they don't fall asleep, they, all these things, right?
I think it's neat too, because like when you pick apart the task-oriented and the people-oriented mentality in terms of jobs, I feel like we're reaching a point where robots in a sense are going to be doing the task itself. Now it's a matter of managing those tasks. It's now the humans having to ensure that it's just getting done in a proper manner, right? So you're in a way having to teach students or teach postgraduates who are phasing into a career that they need to shape it up in a way where if they're not heading into an industry that is not dying, then they're doing something right. You know what I mean? Like, I think a scary thing is now is if you feel like you're about to do a job that could possibly be replaced in 3 years. That is already guaranteed. Like, tests are being done. And they're having certain robots in place, whether it's like a robotic truck, right, that just does that specific thing that can be replaced, right? Like, I think that's neat. When you look at
And I feel too like sometimes we need to say, what am I good at? Like that's one thing I was trying to get people to think about it. In class is like, what am I good at? What do I like doing that I'm good at? And how can I use that as an unfair advantage against other people?
What happens to the kid who goes to you? Sorry, I shouldn't say kid, because I mean anyone can be any age going to university. But the guy or girl that goes to you and says, "Well, Charles, I don't know yet. I don't know."
Yeah,
and
that's totally normal.
Are you gonna say
totally normal.
Okay, well, keep studying, keep doing all these open studies and figure it out, or are you more rather going to say, you know what, just go take a break, go maybe work a job, and
interesting.
Save some money, travel.
That's such a hard question.
Figure yourself out. Yeah,
that's such a hard question. I have a couple thoughts on that. One is, is that a door or a wall? Do I need to push harder to open that door, or is that a wall and I need to go in a different direction? That's really difficult. I don't know the answer to that because, my oldest son graduated. Gosh, I feel old now, but he graduated and he didn't want to go to university. So he went and he's working in Amsterdam.
Wow.
So he went to Amsterdam for a year to work and, figure out kind of what he wants to do. And that's the one thing I think is you can't steer a ship that's not moving. Like, it's one thing to say, I don't know what I want to do, but I'm doing something. I'm moving. I'm trying something, and say, you know what? I don't know what I want to do, so I'm just if the phone rings, I'm in the basement playing Fortnite with my squad, right? I mean, if you don't know what you want to do, but you're not doing anything, then probably nothing's going to happen. But if you don't know what you want to do, but you're going to school or you're traveling or you're at Startup Edmonton trying to, it's, it's you're meeting up with different companies and asking people what they're working on and seeing, okay, what are some of the things that I like,
You're planning.
Yeah, you're planning, because the other thing is, it's interesting, like, you put all this. We think that in some ways, I guess, we don't realize it, but we change. Because you put all this time and effort, like, so I think I have 2 PhDs, right? Yep. So my first PhD was in literature, and it's like, man, just studying Shakespeare and reading and marking, like, wow, that is everything. And then I remember sitting there one time, and it's like, I got 120 essays to mark, and they're like, 10 pages each. Yeah. This is like War and Peace. I am marking War and Peace. Again, over and over again. Another semester, another War and Peace.
You're skimming through it. You're like, oh my gosh. Said this too. I'm just gonna flip to the next page.
Yeah, and it's I sometimes think it's like Shakespeare. It doesn't matter how you teach it. The same people always die, and at some point you realize, when 10 years ago this was everything I wanted, but it's not what I want now.
Yeah,
I'm a different person. That's not. It was everything, but now it's not, and I want to do something different. And so even though you invest in your career, you invest in your profession, you invest in yourself to do, you might change.
So true.
And but there are things in that will probably translate. And I think that's part of it, right? Is what is it that I love in mixed martial arts? Like, what is it? Is it the competition? Is it the camaraderie? Is it the training? Is it the logistics? What is it about that fires me up? Because maybe I can, when I'm 50, I can't be doing MMA. There's still some people that are out there.
Long term.
Yeah.
Chuck Liddell recently going into that fight.
Oh no.
KB showed me what that looked like. He's like,
gosh.
dude, look, Chuck Liddell, he's heading back into the cage. Just please, try to not close your eyes to watch him hit pads. And poor guy, man, he's done. He had his time.
Yeah.
And he's hitting pads he's like, doom.
Yeah.
And you just hear it. You're hearing the pads and you're like, this is not going to go okay.
Yeah.
Poor guy gets KO'd.
Yes.
Right?
I know. He's watched too much Rocky.
Exactly.
But what is it in there that really lights a fire in you? You'll never, I don't think at least, nothing great is achieved without enthusiasm.
Yeah.
Right? Without passion. You have to have something that, makes you want to get up. Otherwise, you're just kind of, treading water or...
Yeah. You should be excited to
You should be excited.
What it is you're going to do.
I feel like some people get afraid of, perhaps in our time, there's this heavy emphasis on whatever you do, and you find that, that words use so much passion that you have to be the best at that.
Yes.
And then they get afraid that, man, I'm not going to be the best at it. I might be okay.
Yeah.
And then it becomes almost self-defeating in that sense, right?
Yeah.
And I feel like I find that in some people.
And it's, that the other thing that we neglect to consider is how much time, the people that are good at something, they put time in. They're not just naturally good. Yeah. I remember talking with Brian Mason, he was the leader of the NDP, and I talked to him about a debate and that they were doing, right? And he said, oh yeah, we spent about a week preparing for the debate. And you realize, okay, when I turn on my TV and see these people debating, it's not like they just got the debate now, right? And they walked on and they're like, so what are we talking about? What are the key issues? Well, I think blah, blah, blah. They've prepared. They spent a lot of time.
Yeah. And even on the flip side, I can't help but think that's somebody who was on the debate club in grade 6. That's
Yeah.
somebody who
Yeah.
in junior
Yeah.
high
Yeah.
decided to be the
Yeah.
school vice president.
They've exercised
Right?
skills.
That's
Yeah.
someone in high
Yeah.
school who decided
Yeah.
to do a rally
Yeah.
and get 500
Yeah.
of their graduates interested in their grad. You know what I mean? Like,
yes,
just
and
that-
someone,
you know what I mean? Like,
yes,
just
and
that-
someone that probably was in a debate and lost.
Yes. Like they were somebody who
Yeah.
practiced it all their life.
They
right?
gave their heart and they got beat. They got whooped, right?
Yeah.
And then they're like, man, why did that go sideways? Like they learned something about that.
Yeah.
You know, they
But
put
they
them-
had lots of time.
Yeah.
They lost, they won, they saw
But
both
you're not
sides.
going to put the time in if you don't want to do it, because otherwise it's like, you know, are we done yet? Can I get out of here?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah, okay, good. Now, you know, when you leave, you just, it's, you know, 4 o'clock and you see people that are just like heading for the exits.
That was like me when I was working. I was like every day just thinking when I got there of how much time. And I was like, I started having that realization. I was like, man, I don't think this is a good way to live your life.
Yeah, that's right.
You're counting down the time, just like, no.
And somehow we think, I don't know if it's that we think that, you know, I can just make do, like I'll bribe myself to keep doing this. I'll buy goodies and that'll keep me.
That's what I did.
That's what you did, hey?
That's what I did.
Yeah.
I
I'll
was
spoil
like,
myself.
I'll just buy stuff to keep me temporarily happy, and then I'll
Yeah.
dip into a pool of sadness, and then I'll buy things to get myself out.
Up and
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, this
Yeah.
is. I was like, this can't be a good way to live.
Yeah, that's right. You know, when we bump into people like that, we bump into people that aren't happy. And you can see, you know, that they are not, you know, one of the sad things is we only get one shot at it, right? Like we only get one shot at life. And, you know, if you're like, holy cow, like I haven't really lived and I'm, you know, I feel like I'm just sort of treading water. That's, you know, I guess I hope that in class people can, you know, maybe with some of the self-evals or some of the activities, think a little bit about like what fires you up. You know, one student, she was wonderful. You know, every semester I just like give my heart away to students because they're just wonderful. But she said, you know, after 4 years of accounting, I know for sure that I do not want to be an accountant.
Valuable lesson.
That actually is a valuable lesson because it could be 40 years, you know. But thinking about, so what is it? What are the times when I feel alive? What are the times when I feel like time is just, you know, time has stopped, or I feel like I'm in the moment. I feel like I'm alive. What are the activities that, you know, allow me to experience that?
Yeah.
Maybe it's talking with people. Maybe it's crunching numbers. Maybe it's, you know, and then trying to find something that will fuel that. Now, I mean, I know that you can't find a job that will perfectly fit that, maybe, and there's times where there's things you have to do that you don't want to. But if it's 24/7 of just, you know, there's a French proverb that says, if you keep your nose to the grindstone, eventually you'll say there's no such thing as birds that fly or a sun that shines in the sky. You'll just be left with 3 things: the grindstone, you, and your poor old nose. You know, and you know, and those people, you know, that you bump into that like that, they're not fun to be around.
Yeah.
And I don't want to be that person that's, you know,
Because you could tell.
get the hell off my yard. You know, like
They're like so fixated
Yeah.
in that mentality, right? They're not being human.
yeah,
Like
yeah,
they're robots. It's scary. And I think, you know what, this ties into what KB mainly said was like the highs and lows of what you see in being in an atmosphere whether or not it's meant for you. And it made me whip this out. So it's called the transition curve.
Nice.
And I want to know if you've seen something like this.
Okay, I probably
And
haven't, but
there's 3, 4,
made it.
6.
No.
I can't
was
take
a-
credit for
was
this
a-
because it's brilliant.
Just like his Keim.
yeah. I think
Oh, for
I came up with that with my undergrad. Yeah.
Hey, 2 PhDs later, this probably is you, eh? But 6 different steps, and it's really neat because it dissects the feeling of when you start something, and then when you go along the path, and there's the highs, the lows, and then from what it looks like at the end of it. And we'll break it down. I want to know what you guys think about this, okay? So step number 1 is the uninformed optimism. So this is essentially where you're super excited about starting something new. Maybe this was KB. He graduated. His accounting degree was stepping into one of the big 4, and you haven't actually started it yet. So like you're one step in. You have a high likelihood of optimistic mindset, thinking it's gonna be great. Like whoa, like suit up, let's go, right? Let's work. Let's do accounting. This is what I did. Then you reach a point where you get a crisis of engagement. This is step 2.
Crisis of
So
engagement.
this is the first time you end up being faced with a challenge. So it's maybe that first day where you realize you're going to be in the office for 4 more hours than what you realize, right? And then you end up having, let's say, for example, it says here, a tech quitting. There's a frustrated homeowner, just as an example in a business you're doing. And you begin questioning your pure optimism. So you begin thinking, okay, am I really that excited?
It's interesting.
Right?
Yeah.
Then you go into step 3, and it's informed pessimism. So now this is the decline, okay? This is where you focus on the challenge, and it's tough to remember all the things you were initially excited about. So now you realize, okay, this challenge, it's all you could think about, and now you're starting to forget the fact that you're even excited in the first place. Okay? Now it goes into crisis of meaning. This is like the climax, the pivotal stage. And it goes typically your fight or flight. Right? So maybe it's like you relate it to fighting, and you get to that point where you get put in a corner, and now you're either going to get knocked out or you're going to get back up.
Yeah.
Right? So this is where a voice in your head, it starts doubting whether or not you're up for the challenge. You start going, is this even for me?
Yeah,
Like,
can I
is
do
this,
it?
Like, I faced my first challenge. It's putting me through hell and back. Am I meant for this? And what's neat is you start giving up. It says here, I'm right here. So the voice in your head starting to dart whether you're up for the challenge. Some people choose to run away from it. They go, I'm done.
Yeah.
Right? Immediately
Yeah.
they're done off
Yeah.
that first challenge.
Yeah.
They don't break through resilience, right? And then they go, by giving up the not only leave the challenge unresolved, but you miss out on a big learning opportunity. You just gave up. Right?
Yeah.
Like if it was your first one,
Yeah.
you didn't push through.
Yeah.
And then most people choose to fight through this challenge and are rewarded with the experience that it comes from overcoming it. Right?
That's
so
interesting.
this is a person that goes, okay, maybe they go into their first
Yeah.
fight and they lose.
Yeah.
They get badly hurt. They never go back. Right? Or they decide, you know what, I'm gonna recover,
Yeah.
I'm gonna come back stronger.
Yeah.
Right? And then
That's
you have
interesting.
the come up.
Yeah.
Okay? So you got the dips, you got the
Yeah.
highs, now you're in hopeful realism. So this is step 5, where it's where you first start overcoming a challenge and you realize that, you know what, I got this.
Yeah.
Right? It's that university student who
Yeah.
gets his
Yeah.
first F and
That's
cries to his
interesting.
cousin,
Yeah.
right? Last one, like let's say he cries to his cousin, because this
Yeah.
was me when I failed calculus. And I'm like, dude, I don't think university's for me, man.
Yeah.
I'm done. And my hopeful realism was
Yeah.
where my cousin's like, dude, my first semester, I boshed it too.
Yeah.
He's like, it's a learning experience.
Yeah.
Just keep going, keep
Yeah.
learning.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah,
Like,
yeah.
Just face it
And
again.
university is more than calculus.
Exactly. Right? That's just it.
Right?
And then another thing, the challenges are different. They're going to come
Yeah.
along the way. Final one is informed optimism, right? So this is where you went from uninformed to informed.
Yeah.
And it says it's the stage where you've rebuilt that initial excitement. Right? Now it's based on a foundation of knowledge and experience.
That's
both.
interesting.
And then future employers, they love people, and let's say future anybody who like future coach, whoever you want to end up being, future actor.
Yeah.
They love people that can clearly prove that they've made it to this stage. They can see they've gone through
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
up and down.
That's interesting. You know, when you were talking, I was thinking William Blake's The Songs of Innocence, Songs of Experience, English poet, right? He says something very similar. You start out with this innocence of the world. It's beautiful. You know, there's little sheep bleating. There's, bees humming. There's the blue sky. And then pretty soon you're like, yeah, but there's wolves and there's thorns. And, there's like some really nasty stuff. But that ultimately you attain a kind of higher innocence. You're sadder but wiser.
Yeah.
You see not only the blue sky but also the clouds. But there's this process of, I guess you mature, but you also start to gain a better view. What's interesting about that though, and this is something that's not resolved for me. You take calculus and you fail. You're like, okay, but I'm going to pound through calculus. So you pound through. There are some things you come to and you fail it because you're not good at it, and you should stop.
Yeah.
It's
true.
one of the things about entrepreneurs, for example, is they keep trying, but sometimes they shouldn't. You should, if at first you don't succeed, try again, but then quit. If it doesn't work, then quit. Don't, okay, I'm gonna take out a second mortgage and I'm going to make it. No, people, don't want that. There's nothing in the market for it. It's not a good idea. Don't take it personally, but you need to stop. And it's interesting because, like, I noticed at grad school, for example, when I was doing my MBA. So after I did my, English, then I'm doing MBA, and I encountered this thing. I don't know if you heard it. There's something called stats.
Yeah.
And I was like, what is this stats stuff, right? And accounting and stats. I'm like, what is this? These numbers and formulas, and I really struggle. I'm a word guy, right?
Yeah.
I mean, words, images, all that, putting together, big picture guy, right?
Definitely.
Of course, right? Details, whatever, we'll worry about that later. And I noticed that I was putting lots of time into stats and accounting, which are things that I'm not very good at.
Yeah.
When really and instead of, I should have said, those things there I'm not very good at. Let's just kind of get through and let's focus at the thing I'm really good at, and I'm just going to be like a superstar on the things I'm good at.
I like that.
It's
knowing you're not going to be perfect
every
single thing that you're doing.
What are the things that if I can be, work on and be good at it, that I can be outstanding? It's interesting. It's almost like, you hear this all the time. You got to work on your weaknesses.
Yeah.
Why?
That was my thinking.
Right? Like,
was
why?
so flawed. I was like, I'm gonna weaponize my weaknesses and make a career out of them.
Yeah.
Complete opposite.
Yeah.
I was like, my strengths will shine through so strong that I'll be able to use them in this career. I'm like, no.
Yeah.
No, you're gonna sit at a desk.
Yeah.
For 12 hours a day.
Yeah.
And No, it's
Yeah.
not the way the world works.
Yeah, that's right.
Like, I was like, no, I'm going to take 4 years of my life, weaponize my weaknesses, and become an accountant. And Jesus.
KB, accountant to the wild frontier.
That was like, when these networking events started, like, happening, I felt like, oh, this is easy. If this is what the life is like in the corporate world, then this is good.
Yeah.
Like I'll do well here. And I was doing well at these events because I was able to form like bonds with these people.
Yeah,
You were
of course.
selling yourself. You're having conversations.
Yeah, I was having conversations, and it was easy to me. And I was looking around at like my competition, and they were like, they were flustered.
Yeah. They're like, but this wasn't on the exam.
They're like, this wasn't on the exam.
Yeah.
This wasn't. This doesn't seem like it was in the job description.
I have to talk.
And then these companies, they're talking about giving you concert tickets. They're like bringing you out, and you're having drinks with them, and you're like, I'm like, well, this is cool. This is life. This is You're just drinking the Kool-Aid.
Yeah.
And then I ended up, you end up getting hired, and you're like, what the heck? This is no.
Wow.
Yeah, hey? And it's interesting, that's one thing I think that we sometimes don't give ourselves enough credit for. You know the answers. You know, in your heart, listen to yourself, know. You don't have to buy some high-priced consultant. You don't have to get a life coach. You don't need a therapist. Listen to yourself. You know what to do. You know what the answers are.
You know yourself.
And
it's so funny you're saying that, because I've been speaking with a lot of individuals in those fields, right? A lot of life coaches, therapists, any therapist, massage therapist, physiotherapist, chiro, whatever.
Do the massage therapists? Do you get them to show you what they do a bit?
No. It's just a lot of it happens to be they're just asking the right questions. That's all it is. They're not giving advice.
Yeah.
They're just asking you things that you were never even asked. You know what I mean? Like, you look at loving relationships. They're so loving because that's someone in your life. They ask you the right things. They listen. They try and figure you out by doing so. Right?
Yeah.
But then when you don't have that, okay, well, why is your body in pain? Oh, because you're stressed out.
Yeah.
Okay, well, why are you stressed out? What's going on?
Yeah.
Oh, because I'm working out, blah, blah, blah. It's like, okay, well, is that really the answer? Like, what else is going on? Are you overworking yourself? Is it coming from your relationship?
Yeah.
Is it coming from maybe not having anyone in your social circle to go to? It gets deeper and deeper and deeper.
You're not sleeping because you dread going to work.
Exactly. So a good therapist, don't get me wrong, they're not unnecessary, but they're people who they'll probe you accordingly.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Right?
That's a good point.
They'll ask you these questions and really dig deep.
That's interesting because, one of the things it's called CEO disease, which is the higher you go in an organization, the harder it is to get feedback. Like honest feedback. Like if you think about it, right? You're the boss, and so what do you think of that decision? Well, I think that was a brilliant decision, boss. You're a genius. Laying everybody off, that was visionary, right? Even though
give your real opinion, right?
Even though when you say
like,
you're
concerned about
and
it.
if we can, and that's one thing that therapists and life coaches and things like that is they can help us see part of ourselves. Remember Johari's window. The part you know about yourself and the part that you know about you that others don't, what others see that you don't, and in this unknown. If you have other people that can say, Kenny, or KB, this whole accounting thing, it doesn't really seem that would, it doesn't seem like it would align with what you really value, Like, I'm sure you can do it, you're smart, you're talented, and all of that, but it doesn't seem like that's something that would really light a fire in you.
I wish somebody would have done that.
No, but it's so funny because even with KB, when he was working in accounting, he had countless people, a handful of people look at him and be like, what are you doing here? Right?
Really?
And I think that's what really got to him.
Really?
Right?
People were actually telling you
they're
that.
like, oh, like you're so, like you could be a movie star, you could be, like you're so outgoing, like you're not us. Like that, and that's where it started to kind of click,
They just,
right?
I don't know, I feel like, let's say, like you're a dad. Do you feel like you'd look at your kids as they're being brought up and think like if they decided to do something career-wise, do you think it's wise to interfere and say like son or like
that's tough,
you shouldn't do this?
There are certain things you see and you're just like that's not gonna fit.
Like, do I let them figure it out on their own?
The thing that's bizarre about having kids is that they're so different. Same parents, same environment, and they're
can be
so
very
different. My two youngest are very quiet and introverted. And my two oldest, they're the exact opposite. They're just, like my oldest son, he's like me. He just talks and blah. He'll walk up to a stranger and start a conversation, and they're, in 10 minutes, they're best friends, And my younger son, man, like you gotta, like, wrench a conversation out of him. I mean, it's crazy.
It's funny
crazy.
to say that.
Hey, like, why is that?
That's like my cousins, right? Alam and Hina. They're like, one's a boy, one's a girl, twins.
Yeah.
Complete opposite personalities.
It's a crazy
like,
thing.
Happen,
how does this happen?
Where the development is, I don't even know if it's development or whether it's just the way they are. It's cool.
But it comes back to what we were talking about earlier, though, that like you've got to be, to say I don't know what I want to be or I don't know what I want to do, but not do anything, you're never going to find it out. But if you don't know what you want to do, but you're trying things, I mean, working as an accountant showed you didn't want to be an accountant.
Yeah.
Right? At least you were doing things. If you're trying out different things, and something will stick.
Yeah, it's not like you were just sitting on your ass, right?
Yeah.
I like how you brought that up in the beginning of the podcast, where you're like, well, I mean, if you're just doing things, at least you're not the guy who's sitting there doing nothing.
If you're doing nothing and you're like, well, I don't know what my purpose is in life, well, you're not going to find it playing Fortnite.
I'm a killer on those spreadsheets. Slay spreadsheets.
Yeah.
So unique.
Yeah. You're finding the more things you try, and you never know where it could lead. Like I sometimes think, if I'd stuck with announcing, I wonder where that would have gone.
Right.
But I never even thought about that. I never thought, there's actually people that make a living doing something like that, right? And so we tend not to think about those things. We tend to think, well, what are the career paths, and what do I got to go to school so that I can do this, which will lead to this, but maybe not. There's lots of different things.
What would you say, Charles, was like your defining fight or flight moment, if you had, whether it's career or in life? Ooh. Was there a time where like it was ultimately time for a change and you noticed it and you capitalized on it? Man. And it either happened for the better or
That's
happened
interesting.
for the
That's
bad.
interesting. I had worked at that little mill in Prince George, or McBride. Driving. I had like reached kind of the top. I'm driving a loader.
Okay. So
sit down, okay? This is big news. I'm driving the loader. This is big. Okay, I'm not the dude stacking lumber. I'm not the dude pushing a broom. I'm driving a loader. This is a big deal. Okay, just so you guys know, it's a big deal.
Yeah,
okay,
big deal in the community.
Yeah, big deal. Hey, there's Keim. That's the guy that drives the loader. Yeah. Oh yeah, he's hell on wheels, man. That's the dude. Yeah. And I'm making good money. And I had been there like 3 years, and I was so unhappy. But I was thinking, I can't be unhappy. I'm the loader guy, man.
Yeah, I'm the guy.
I'm the guy.
People know me.
And I got, it's good money. Working in a mill was good money. I'm living at home. My parents are charging me like $100 a month rent, room and board or something, or 200. I'm paying that, and I got a truck. Hello, and a dirt bike, and I'm like buying good dirt bike gear. I got a nice helmet, boots. I'm racing, and I'm so freaking unhappy. And it's like I don't know why. Like I couldn't sleep properly, and I didn't know why I was unhappy, and I didn't know what to do. And so I thought, well, what do I do? And then a friend of mine was going to Texas to visit a girlfriend. He's like, dude, you got to come with me. We're going on a road trip across the states to Texas. And I was like, well, okay. So I said, I need time off. The boss is like, you're not getting time off, man. Like, we need you on that loader. So I was talking to my dad, and I said, man, I don't know what to do. He said, quit.
Yeah.
Like, you're allowed to quit.
Yeah.
I never thought of that,
Like,
quit.
Quit.
Like, what do you mean?
But
if I quit, who's going to drive the loader? Right? Like, loader doesn't drive itself, Kenny. Like, how are we going to get those damn logs across the lot? Like, what the heck? Right?
I love how you're like, it's going to be the next guy.
I can't leave. The loader needs me.
Yeah.
Yeah, bizarre, hey? You get in a situation, and all you can see is that situation, right?
Yeah.
So then I was like, quit? Wow. Well, I can't quit. And I was like, well, why can't you? Like, you've always wanted to go back to school, quit, go on this trip, go to Ohio and live with the people you've never met before, live with them for 8 months, and then go back to school. Because I'd been saving money, right? I'd built up money.
Yep.
And so I was like, I talked to Dad, and he goes, yeah, that's exactly what you should do. You're not happy. Like, you need to quit your job. You're not happy. This isn't you. Yeah. Like, you even, you read books and stuff, and you have ideas, and you have opinions on everything, and you like to talk. My dad's a small, quiet little guy, quiet. My mom's little too. I don't know, but I've noticed that the guy that works, the postal guy, he's taller, darker. I don't know. It's a curious thing. Anyway. Anyways, so
looks like me.
What's going on here? Yeah,
it's funny.
Yeah, and he always gives me a deal on my parcels.
Always gives me a big hug when I see him too.
Yeah, that's right. So then I was like, well, you know what? Damnation, let's do it. So then I quit, and then I went on this trip to Texas, and then I lived with my relatives in Ohio for 8 months. Yeah. And then I went back to school, and I was like, wow, man, this is like, you're allowed to talk about things. You're allowed to read, a story or learn about history, and then you can discuss it. Yeah. Like, this is amazing. We're sitting here having a coffee talking, and this is like education. This is learning. This is amazing. Yeah. And you can find out all kinds of stuff. I got to dissect a toad, right? And I'm like, this is amazing. I took the toad's heart out. Like, this is amazing.
I was going like, can I do it?
Yeah, it's amazing, And then I got to read, amazing stories and all this, and I was like, wow, this is amazing. And they were like really cool people, even though they were in the city. They were still cool people, and they were nice people, and all these things. And then, that just kind of lit a fire. And then and it's bizarre. One of the big things I learned is when I finished my undergrad at SFU, I applied to grad school. And I applied to the University of Alberta. I applied to Western Ontario, University of Toronto, Queen's, and McGill. Wow. I was turned down at every single place except McGill. Yeah. So I went to McGill. Same application, 5 different schools. Exactly. Western Ontario said no, U of A said no, and McGill said yes. It's funny how it works, right?
I love how you apply to more than one place.
Yeah. You never know what's going to happen, right? You should apply. Why not?
Apply everywhere.
It costs like $20 or $100 or whatever. Yep. Apply. See what
that's
if you don't apply, then it won't work.
Yeah, no, exactly. That's the difference between the person that applies once and then doesn't get it, and goes, oh, okay, well, I tried. Yeah, and then they bounce.
There was, there was a student from last year, and she said, I really like being in class for accounting. I really like that. And I said, you can get a job being like an accounting prof. Really? Well, who's teaching you? Well, an accounting prof. That could be you. What? Oh, wow. So then, she said, well, how do I do that? I said, I don't know about accounting, but, I know a guy at the U of A, Michael Meyer, and he's a nice guy. But I don't go to U of A. That doesn't matter. So I sent him an email. Would you be willing to talk to this girl? Of course, send her over.
Yeah.
So she went and talked to him for, half an hour. Super nice guy.
Fantastic.
And then he says, you should apply, what you're telling me, you should apply to grad school at Saskatoon or Regina, one of those, I can't remember which school it was. He writes her a nice letter reference. He knows someone there.
Nice.
Now she's doing, she's doing
awesome.
grad work there, right?
Look how that started. Connections, telling people, right?
Yeah. If you want to go and go into a law school somewhere, well, where do you want to go? Go to campus, meet the people, talk to admissions people, talk to a prof.
People,
yeah.
Right? We're living in a world now where you can see who is doing the position that you want to ultimately have one day.
Yes.
And you can message them.
And
if you don't get a response, that's the worst thing that's going to happen is
Yeah.
you won't get a response.
And
Or they'll say
the
no.
other thing is I want to meet with people think, oh, I'll send you an email and that's the same as shaking your hand. And no. You can use the email to get the person's address and stuff, but you got to go talk to them.
You have to talk to them face to face. That's how they're going to remember you. If not, you're just another email.
Yeah, I know.
Right? And you know what's even better too is when you meet them face to face, you build the trust.
Yes.
They're then going to tell you what you should do, but on top of it, they're going to tell you not to make the same mistakes that they made.
Yeah.
Right? I couldn't imagine if people were wanting to do something that we're both doing. We would sit them down and be like, okay, well, here's what you do, here's what you don't do.
Yeah.
Here's how you can do it quicker.
Yeah.
Right? Just
because people want to know about what you do.
Yeah.
It's like a natural.
And you're willing to share.
Yeah.
That's one thing that people underestimate is how people are willing to help. People want to help. They want to share their advice. They want to help you avoid their pitfalls. And they want to see you, achieve great things.
So true.
So
to go back to it, Charles, then you felt like your fight or flight moment really was.
That was one of them. That was one of them.
Going into school, getting educated.
I was scared, man. Going back to school, I was scared. I mean, I'd been out 3 years, and also I'm from McBride.
Yeah. How old were you around this time?
Around 20.
Okay.
21, something like that. Yeah.
Right.
So I mean, but I felt, oh gee, I've been on, and those are city kids. Like city kids, growing up, my parents always enforced this, we're poor farmers, we're poor.
Well, they drilled
that into your head, look, we're
different.
Yeah, we're different. We're poor people from the country, and those city kids, they got lunch, they got
they got
food.
lunch boxes.
Well, they got lunch boxes. They got the things you buy in the store. They don't have to make the sandwiches. They're that somehow they're superior. They're just better. They've got money. They've got, and so when I went to university and I got a paperback and the person's like, "You're a good writer," I was like, "Wow, really?" I just was expecting that he'd kind of say, you must be from McBride or something,
Wow.
Yeah, I don't know. It's interesting how, class is very self-reinforcing. If you're in it's almost like if you're in a lower class group and then you go to school, people are like, oh yeah, what are you doing there, Kenny? Think you're better than everybody else, eh? Going to school.
Wow.
Oh yeah, you got that big job.
Yeah, and then they all of a sudden look at him
he's wearing the nice clothes.
Haters though, because they didn't get the chance to do it.
Look at him, he's washing his hands before he eats. He's even cooking his food. What the heck,
Do you
he's like a city boy.
people anymore, that you used to grow up with when you lived on
No,
that's a good question.
Well, there's some people that I keep in touch with, but it's kind of they're the same. The people that are there are the same. It's weird. They haven't changed at all.
Wow.
And I have.
I've
I've changed a lot. Beliefs, attitudes, all those kind of things. Going to school changes you dramatically.
Absolutely.
And talking with people changes you. Life experiences change you.
That's why even school-wise, if it's not you going for the sake of, go to school and get a job out of it, it's more so just go and get educated. Go and
Do you think,
hey,
right? Just get a degree in whatever it is, right?
Yes.
Just so you went through the process of what you learned, time management wise, talking to people, but figuring out your beliefs and opinions along the way, right?
And having to defend them.
Yeah, it opens up your mind, right?
Yeah, being uncomfortable.
Your worldview.
Yeah, totally. You're absolutely right. That process, it's worth it. I mean, it's education is expensive, but it's also an incredible gift. My parents would have done anything to have gone to university, and they never had the chance. Dad, the Amish only go to grade 8. So he never could have gone to university. He just didn't. But he still, he reads books all the time. He's constantly reading. Even though he only has a grade 8, he loves books. Awesome. He loves reading. Yeah. Mom, when she had to go home and take care of the family, so she couldn't go to university because she was taking care of the family and stuff like. They never had, and that's one thing. It's interesting. All my brothers went to university. Wow. From McBride, McBride, middle of nowhere. We're the only family there where everybody went to school. Wow. And I think one of the things that was instilled in us is that education is a privilege. It's worth it. Money in and of itself won't make you a better person or a bigger person. But man, if you use it for education can change you. It can, open up the world before your eyes. And it really, it does. It's fantastic.
Yeah.
Do you think that as an educator, when you look at everything from schools, from like basically elementary school to high school, do you think there could be some major reform that could happen that could allow kids to learn in a better environment?
Yeah, there's a couple things about that. Number one, I think, is it's interesting. What's the worst thing that can happen in a course? I failed. I get an F. What's the best thing that can happen in an organization? Well, if an idea fails, why did it fail? How can we use that failure to succeed earlier? Dave Kelly, who has a company, IDEO, and you remember the shopping cart project. They have the shopping cart and they redo it to make it different.
That one, incredible company.
Incredible
they
company.
Refurbish and redefine what
all
that
these
service
things,
is. Right?
all these amazing things, and he says, our goal is to fail sooner, is to fail often so we can succeed sooner. Yeah. And one of the terrible things in education is that people are scared to fail. That we're so worried about failing that it kills people's love of learning. It kills their experimenting. Let's try doing it this way. Well, no. If it doesn't follow the rubric, you're going to fail. Well, screw the rubric. The rubric is going to lead you down a path where you already know the ending. Try something different. How could we?
What's the question? See this? How can we answer it? How can we be out of the box?
Yeah. Is that even the right question? Maybe we're seeing it wrong, right? And education. The other thing that's interesting is that research shows that using money as a reward has a negative impacts for production. So if it's a mechanical task, like say putting the lid on digging a hole. If I say to you, KB, I'll give you more money for digging that hole, you'll dig more holes. But as soon as it becomes a cognitive task, more money leads to worse performance. And and one of the things that happens is I think that students use grades as a form of money. They want an A, they see it as like money. And it has the exact opposite effect because money leads to worse performance for cognitive tasks. Yeah. And in school, grades, I fear, does the same thing. It leads to worse results because students view it as money. Wow. And so they're working for this money and they're terrified if they'll get a low mark. Instead of saying, man, it's all open. Yeah. Here's what we're studying today in business. Yeah. Let's have fun with it. Let's get excited about it. Let's approach it from different perspectives. Yeah. What if we did this? What if we did that? Okay, you guys are looking at it that way. Your project was totally wrong. That's brilliant. That's fantastic. Why did it not work? Yeah. Why was your project wrong? What would have allowed it to succeed? And instead we're scared of don't step out because I don't want to. I don't want to fail. I don't want to get it. Yeah, if I get a C, boy, that's a GPA wrecker. Yeah. And it's like, okay, so then it's making us all start. We're all in the same rubric. Yeah. And as long as the lights that are changing at the intersection are red, green, or yellow, we're okay. Yeah. But as soon as there's a purple light, we don't know what to do. It's right.
Well, does that mean that you would? How would you evaluate?
Yeah, see, this is the problem. So this is the problem then. It's like, okay, but whoa,
there need to be evaluations?
Slow down then. How do we? I need to give you a grade. Well, why do we need a grade? Well, you saying you're not going to have grades? Holy Hannah, we have to have grades, right? I don't know what to do with that. I mean, how the question then is, so then how do we evaluate? The problem. Here's the problem though. Okay, so everything I do has got to be, it's all with, okay, how can I put this on an exam? How can I evaluate? Well, the best way of looking at this problem is this. Yeah, but I can't evaluate that. So I can't do that. I have to look at the problem this way and teach it this way so that I can evaluate you. That means that the whole be all and end all of education is slotting you into an A, B, C, D, or F.
Yeah.
But that's not, I mean, but was that education just putting you into slot to say, you know, you get 2 gold stars and
Because not every
you don't?
A 4.0 GPA student makes it to the
No,
successful perspective, and not every C
no,
student ends up being like some
of course not.
flunked out student who doesn't end up doing anything.
Yeah,
I don't walk into a job.
I was at best an average student in high school. Yeah. At best.
Same.
You know, like.
It's so true.
And how do we get in education? How do we get people excited? Yeah. Like, wow,
no, but that's
this is
factor,
so cool.
Right? We don't walk into a room and automatically have the letter of our GPA average on our chest, right? We walk in and so we go back to how you viewed how someone assesses the job interview.
Yeah.
Or do they like you?
Yeah.
Did you relate to them?
Yeah.
Right? I feel like, honestly, you could have a 5-minute conversation with anybody and you could either go, is this person educated or they're not educated? And whatever it is. And then,
I suspect you're right.
You don't ask them, okay, well, how educated are they? You just kind of just get an idea. Of like, you know what, they know.
It's a curious problem, though. Like, so then should we only teach what we can evaluate? Is evaluation the ultimate end of education?
Yeah. So
it can't be. But then, what do you do? And I guess that people are terrified that, students are either not going to come to class. Well, maybe your class is so boring that nobody wants to come anyways. Or else they're just going to sit there and not do anything. Well, okay, but that's a pretty grim view of humanity, that they're just going to be sitting there not wanting to do anything. Yeah. Presumably, they're going to be interested by ideas. They're actually going to want to explore. They're going to want to, I reminded of that that little TED talk on the Marshmallow Challenge, where they found out that the worst people at building marshmallow towers are business grads. And the best people are kindergarten grads.
Yeah, wow.
Because they just immediately start working on things and prototyping.
They don't care if they're going to lose.
When we look at like higher level education, such as grad school, people that have PhDs, their education is formalized in a sense where it's based upon the foundation of research. And research at, I think, the most elementary level is exploration.
Yes.
So why I feel like it might be wise to enforce that early on with children, is that let's not evaluate these subjects based upon like perhaps physical examinations, but let's let these kids explore these subjects individually and build their knowledge perhaps that way. Isn't that what you do in grad school?
And the other thing is that, we learn differently. Some people learn listening, talking, but some people learn doing activities. When they're hands-on, when they're building things, that's how they're learning, or they learn by watching it.
Kid.
Yeah.
In your class when we made the marshmallow.
Yeah,
nice.
Katie just kept making it.
He
still has the marshmallow. I think it's just still sitting in one of our closets.
I legit got our buddies together. Everyone was getting drunk, and I was making a marshmallow castle.
Nice.
Because that project made me want to do that.
People, and I guess my view is that people are naturally inquisitive and creative. People naturally want to figure out things and build things and explore and learn and experiment. And, how can we set that up in a class to foster that, right?
Do you think the idea of evaluation of what we discussed, is it parallel to winning and losing? Like, because if we took out the whole concept of, okay, let's evaluate, let's test how skilled you are, right? Does that relate to winning and losing? Because I personally see the value of someone knowing if they won or lost. But do you feel like, okay, they're not in relation with one another?
Yeah.
And maybe someone will get an idea if they are headed in the right direction or not?
Well, that's an interesting question, because part of the problem is, imagine that I want to teach you, you're practicing free throws with basketball.
Yeah.
Okay. And I say, you know what, Kenny, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. We're not going to be evaluating, okay? So we'll just put a blanket up, and you can't see if the shot's going in or not. We're going to work on your form and all of this.
Oh.
But I can't see. So you take 100 shots, and you're like, but how many did I make? Well, that's not the point.
Yeah.
Okay, but like, I want to know, am I getting better? You know, did I make 80? I made 70 last week. Did I make 80 today? Did I make 60? You know, if you can't see the results, then that's something that's profoundly, it's going to zap your motivation.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, I guess you could say that grades are our way of keeping track of how you're doing. Yeah. So that, your first accounting test, you got 60%, and then you went, you studied, you did this, and now you got 70%. Yeah. And you're like, hey, man, I'm figuring this. Now I've got 80%, right? Yeah. Woohoo! You're able to track your results.
But it shouldn't be the be-all, end-all of like.
Yeah.
Oh, you got to see you suck.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, for these kind of subjects, it's technical in its essence, right? Like there is a right and wrong way to do things. So
exactly.
With that subject matter, of course, wouldn't you say
true.
That an examination is required because that allows you to essentially say, yeah, you're doing this right and you're doing this wrong.
Yeah, you're right. And it's tricky, right? I mean, if you're a nurse and you're working on a burn unit, look, here's how you treat burns. This is the best way to do it.
Yeah.
Well, let's explore. Yeah. Let's explore. What if we just, what if I use a fan to try and, treat the burn instead of what you're doing, No, that's going to cause problems. That's going to make it worse. So, or if we, we're launching the space shuttle and we've got like one chance here. And if we screw it up, 7 people die. So there's some things that, you can experiment and other things where you probably shouldn't experiment. So, that also...
That concludes it very well. And I see you being in the field of passion where you want to be in a position where you are teaching the exploration side, right?
Yeah.
Being the management and the consulting. Because that segues me in asking you, like, why is it that you chose management and consulting as organizational behavior as the choice of being a professor?
A couple things. One is I think studying people is the most interesting thing ever. People are just absolutely fascinating. What makes people tick, why they do what they do, and also that you can make people's lives better. That there are things you can do that make your life better.
Yeah, that optimize.
Yeah, that if you every night, if you write down or just in your when you're laying in bed, think of the things that made you happy in the day. Yeah. You will fundamentally be a happier person. In a month, you'll be happier than if you lay in bed and think about all the things that made you upset.
Yeah.
That's one little intervention that can change your life. Exactly. And so learning about these things that you can do that will make your life better, that's fantastic. Or even telling students, look, you got a C. That doesn't mean you're a C student. Yeah. Maybe that's just not you. Don't worry about it.
Mindset.
Yeah.
That's neat.
That you can, with these little interventions, you can change people's lives.
Yeah. I love that.
It's amazing. I had one student and she did really poorly on the exam, right? And so she came to my office and we're talking, and so I said, well, let's just, let's go through this, right? So I asked the question, and well, it's clearly, this is the answer. Okay, well, you put the different answer here. Oh, yeah. So she did that on everything. Well, it turned out she had dyslexia and had never been diagnosed.
Oh, wow.
She thought she was a dumb person. She's like, yeah, I suck at exams. Well, okay, no, you don't suck. And it's not you, it's not the exam. You actually have a reading disability. Yeah. That's what's causing all this. Mm-hmm. Really?
She doesn't know anything differently.
She didn't know. She had never been diagnosed. She's in third year university and had never been diagnosed. She just thought she sucked at exams. Yeah. She thought she was dumb. Oh. And so when she figured that, that was just a revelation for her when she figured that out. And she's like, wow, yeah, it's not that I just have this disability. And if I do this, suddenly,
Yeah, wow.
Yeah, I'm seeing things as they are. And that totally changed her outlook, right? And when you see that is just like...
So what did she do differently? Did she get treated?
Oh, I can't remember. Yeah, she worked with a learning specialist who was able to...
But it was capitalized.
Yeah,
That's
totally.
Awesome.
It is awesome. And so those kind of little interventions and making people's lives better. Absolutely. And even just letting people know, remember, there's no correlation between job performance and advancement. It's other things. So you've got to make sure that what are those other things, and that you're doing those, and that will allow you to advance. That'll change your life.
Wow, I like that. coming to the conclusion here, Charles, we'll have 2 more questions for you. What would you say is the biggest challenge that you faced really closely, like in terms of like lately, or that you're dealing with right now?
The thing that I always struggle with is the marking. I find it's so hard for me. It is so hard for me to put a grade on a paper or to say.
What we just
that is so tough for me because for several reasons. One, I don't like to judge people, and also that's to me it just seems like that's not the point.
No, exactly.
So that's the thing that I struggle with the most is the grading.
Yep.
Not, I don't want to read the paper and put a mark on. No, that's not the problem. Is just like that mark. Like I don't like to do that, and I know that everybody wants an A and all of that, and it's hard to tell people that this is why that's not.
Yeah, that's a tough conversation.
It's
to
tough.
have. No,
it's
absolutely.
tough, right? So
I see what you mean.
Yeah.
Next thing I'll ask you is, what are your 3 truths? Like if you could say 3 truths, everything that you learned up until this time in your life.
Wow.
That are just truthful, honest, and you could give it to anybody.
The first truth I would say is, show me your friends and I'll tell you your future.
Oh, I love that. That's
because your friends will shape you. They will define your view of success. They will define your view of success, and they will also mark your horizon. One of the most critical things you can do is decide who you are going to be friends with. We tend not to think about that. We're just like,
they're my buddy.
They're my buddy. That's my squad.
Yeah.
They like me.
That's my squad.
Yeah, and instead of saying, are these people like what are their values?
Yeah.
Are they, are these good people or bad people? Are they leading me a good way or a bad way? Are they making me better or are they making me worse?
Wow.
Are they, putting air under my wings, or are they like zapping me? So show me your friends and I'll tell you your future. That's got to be number 1.
I love that.
The second thing I would say is just, read more. Like get ideas, read books, read whatever, like introduce yourself to the world outside of your context, of your little circle. It just shows you more, and it enlarges your mind. It makes you a more interesting person.
Yeah.
And the third truth I would say, I guess, is just invest in people, invest in your family. Your friends and family will be there longer than your job. A career is just a career after all.
Yeah.
And when you retire or you quit or you change jobs, nobody there is really going to care.
Things are going to keep moving.
Yeah, it's right? The job. The company will be fine without you. It was fine before you. It'll be fine after. You have to invest in the people. Take time for the people. Take them out for a coffee. Talk to them. Spend time with them because they are going to be there forever.
Yeah.
That's it's hard to because work is a lot. I feel like work's easier than relationships. Yeah. It's more clearly defined. You get the report and it's done. There's the report.
It's easier to do. Yeah.
Good job, gold star.
Exactly.
And maybe you
next day, do it all over.
Yeah,
again.
and maybe with your family, you invest, you work all that, and you make things worse or something. That's
no, it's so true.
There's
complex.
Yeah.
You voice something out and you don't, and then you see how that has affected and escalated.
The American writer F. Scott Fitzgerald said the 3 worst things, he said, are to wait for one who comes not, to lie in bed and sleep not, and to try and please not. Yeah. And that trying to please and please not, that's hard. Relationships are difficult, but they're ultimately rewarding. I mean, hanging out with your friends, hanging out with your family, that's gold.
Good feeling.
That's gold. It's better than anything you'll ever get at work.
Yeah.
I guess that would be my final and most important truth is, invest in the people.
That's awesome.
The people around you, right? So,
I love that.
Because you get friendships like with you guys. This is awesome,
No, exactly. It's not often we get to do something like this,
an hour and a half, and it just flies by. Is it
an hour and a half?
It's fantastic. Well, let's put it this way, Charles. I just want to take the second to acknowledge you, right?
Ooh.
You are somebody who was, I don't even want to say you were the professor.
Oh, man.
Who
Hey.
made it so exciting for myself and KB you know. And you really taught me how to focus in on my strengths, right? There was one time I can remember, I recall you saying, Kenny, listen, I get it. You're a lot like me in one way, shape, or form.
Big time.
You're outgoing, you're gregarious,
loud,
and
disruptive,
loud.
all those things that profs are always be quiet.
Yeah, no, exactly.
You know,
but you
mind
said,
your, stop talking to people.
right? And you said, you know what? Use it, fuel it, put it in the right
Yeah.
thing, and it will, hopefully be something that's going to be larger than life,
Yeah.
right? And for you to even focus on things like, having a class or two that are strongly about strengths, and somebody who, you just figured it out for students in a way where you saw what they were good at and you wanted them to flourish in it. And I know you touched a lot about that today. So I acknowledge you for being real,
Thanks,
right?
man.
You're not just, you don't put on your professor pants and be someone.
Yeah.
You're the same Charles you're at home that you are at school. And that's what I love about you. You keep it real.
Absolutely.
Right?
It's true, I love to talk. I was always being told to be quiet in class, sit still, stop talking to people. So what I do, I became a prof, and now I can talk all I want. Nobody tells me to.
I love it.
Nobody tells me to be quiet.
I can talk for a full hour and a half, and no one can say anything.
That's
eh?
right. Yeah, absolutely.
I love that. Well, thank
Awesome.
you, Charles. You're the man.
Awesome.
That was great, eh?
That was very good. Very good.
Thanks so much.
KB.